Welcome everyone to Evernote and Students with Learning Disabilities. Bridget Perry's been working with assistive technology for more years than she might want to say, and she's going to tell us what she's learned about this application and how she's using it, and how it can be a great tool for students with learning disabilities.
All set? Well, thank you so much for having me and for everyone's interest in this topic. It seems that everybody's interested in Evernote these days, and I want to be able to share some of my insights as to how different scenarios play out for students if they're to take the features and use them in innovative ways. So my whole intention around this is to generate ideas. I'm not so much going to spend time on pointing out where to click and how to use Evernote. There's a lot of resources which I'll share with you of how you can learn that. But more, I want to talk with you and get your ideas as well about different ways. And so if I can plant some seeds, that would be my goal. So before I get started, I want to make sure everyone can hear me okay. If you cannot, well, if you can't hear me, then you won't know that I'm saying this. But I assume everyone, there's people out there who let me know that you can hear me all right. You can communicate with me in the chat.
I think they can hear you.
Oh, good. Good. All right. Thanks for the few from different places there. And as Lisa has on the first screen here, we have a map, and looks like some of you have put where you're from. I'm the star smack in the middle of central New York. I'm from Ithaca. And as Lisa mentioned, I have been in assistive technology and educational technology for as long as Lisa has, so that's a long time, right, Lisa? And I currently do a lot of professional development with teachers around the country. I've worked internationally with different places and collaborated in different communities, and I also work virtually. I have worked with many students as an assistive technology specialist and also doing student coaching. So looks like more people are getting their little locations. So it looks like we are well represented around the country. I am going to advance the slide, but I'm really happy to see that so many of you are coming from all over. All right, here we go. So I am going to be talking about Evernote with students with learning disabilities, although I do want to say that I think Evernote is pretty flexible for students regardless of their learning challenges or abilities, and that it's a matter of making this tool work for you. And that's what I'm looking to do, is to make sure we are aware that it has a lot of flexibility. Looks like somebody had lost audio but got it back, and I'm assuming that I'm still okay here. All right, so we have a quick survey. What I'd love to know is, on a scale from A to E, A being you're a brand new person to Evernote, and E being you're extremely familiar, I'd like to have you indicate to me in a poll how familiar you are with Evernote. There is a polling tool that says, well, let's see. Lisa, could you guide us?
It's above the names, underneath your name, and it's the fourth one to the right. And so we're getting a lot of newbies so far. 7 newbies, only 2 experts. 10 newbies. Well, 4 people are pretty good. 6 people are pretty good, and 12 people are newbies.
Okay. Well, this is all great. So what I'm excited about is that even, if you're brand new, then perhaps you're being introduced to some concepts that will really help you personally or help the individuals that you support. If you're an expert, I certainly hope that you'll contribute any information. I'm familiar with Evernote. I use it on a regular basis, but just as many other applications, I'm always finding new stuff. So I think we will all be able to share, and that's the spirit. I'd like to do that. So anytime you have something to contribute as we move forward, whether you're a newbie or anywhere in between or an expert, please feel free to enter any ideas or questions or contributions into the chat window. We'll make sure to incorporate that. Okay. So quickly, just the agenda. Change my pointer here. Oh, there we go. Actually, sorry. Let me just, there's the pointer I want. I am going to do a quick overview of Evernote features, and primarily, as I said before, not to try to train anybody here today about how to use Evernote, but more to point out the features so that as I start talking about some of the ideas I have around how students can take advantage of Evernote, that it'll be a little more in context. I'm also going to talk about how you can get your hands on various, on Evernote and some of the resources, and so we'll go from there. So first, in the overview of Evernote, thinking about the important features for students so that they can organize in the way they want to. And I always think this is so critical, especially for students with learning disabilities, is that organization, as you likely know, is a huge issue for many students. And being able to get organized, we've all seen students who have their day packs stuffed full of the assignments or their notes, and it's hard to retrieve, or that just organizationally the skills the tools may not match their best approach. And what I love about Evernote is there's a lot of flexibility. To be able to take notes the way you want to, there's a whole lot of flexibility in Evernote. And later we'll explore some ideas about how we can take the features, the various note-taking features, and use them to our advantage. It's also one of the things about Evernote is that information that you store in Evernote is pretty easy to retrieve. It has some pretty robust features that enable our innovations for students to really stand out as great potential for students. And I believe that they're not only stand out, but they're actually, it's about time that a lot of technology has been out there really gets to be put to some simple use. There's some tools in Evernote that allow for researching. Let's say you're doing a research paper and be able to go out and collect data and information in an easy way and organize it. And there are reminders, and there's a lot of other features. These are the ones that I'm highlighting right now. So moving forward, I'm going to just show you quickly some of the ways that you can organize. And this is, again, just an overview and an introduction for those who are new to Evernote about how you can create notes. What you see on the slide here is that basically where my pointer is on this left-hand side of the screen, you have to excuse my left-right challenge here, but okay, somebody has no visual. So can I get a sense from everybody that anybody else, can you see my slide? I'm on a slide that says Evernote Ways to Organize.
I think everybody can see it. I'll troubleshoot and pay attention to the chat.
Okay. All right, good. All right, so looking over here in where the notes, there's on the left-hand side, there are notebooks. This is the system for how Evernote allows you to organize information. You can create all kinds of notebooks. And as you may see here, I have notebooks with personal things and various topics. And this is where I stash my notes. I am going to show you about notes, but this is how you can organize your notes. You can have one notebook, just like you have like one binder, and shove everything into that notebook, just like you might into a binder. But what's nice about in Evernote is that you can have various notebooks, label them, and if you find that it works well for you, the way you think and the way you would be searching out things, you can create as many notebooks as you wish. Okay, so what we're looking at here is just a big view of Evernote. We've looked on the left side where we saw the notebooks, and then this middle row is a viewing of notes in what's called the snippets view. It allows you just to see some of the main information, including the title of the note, and whatever note is selected at the time is being viewed over here on the right side, so you can see the whole note. It's not unlike using Outlook, for example. Another way you can view notes is as a list, so you can see your notes and all the detailed information, and whatever note is selected is being viewed down here on the bottom. Again, very similar to Outlook and whatever view format that you might have. And here we're looking at thumbnails. So again, the same notebooks on one end, the notes in the middle, whatever note is being highlighted is being viewed on the right. There's also ways to sort your notes into any notebook. So for example, if I have this note that I'm focused on here, it has my English lecture in it, and we'll talk more about that. I can change it from the notebook it's currently stored in by clicking on a little arrow and selecting which notebook I would like to resort it into. So that's really nice, so that if I start off in the wrong notebook, I can always go back and reorganize. Again, if you're going to use multiple notebooks, because that's the way your brain works, that's the way you think, then that's a great feature. And if you only have one notebook, then you wouldn't really need to worry about that. Okay, so now we're going to get into some of the cool features about the note-taking options. The first option is the basic text note. And so this is a close-up of a text note. In other words, I created a new note and it is in basic text format. I have access to a lot of formatting tools. I can actually create, in this example, a checklist, and it creates, instead of just little bullets, I actually have little check boxes here where I can check off things as I get them done. I've inserted a table if I wanted to do that. I can do all kinds of formatting just as I would in a word processor. One way a student might use this is to keep track of things that they're maybe a to-do list or information that they need to gather, and I'll be showing examples. But just to say that a text note is just as it implies, is it's a way for you to use a basic text editing to keep track of information. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can hear my poor cat crying in the background. I apologize if it gets too loud. The next note that I'm going to show you is the audio note. So just as I was able to select a new note and get a text note, I can get an audio note. And what's cool about that in Evernote is that basically I get an audio note and then I click record. And whether I'm recording something for myself as a reminder or information I want to keep track of, or a lecture from in a classroom, it's just that easy to record it. So I have this feature built right in. That's pretty cool. Okay. The other kind of note option is they've set this up and they call it a webcam note, or at least in the version I'm using. And by the way, my screenshots are from, I'm using a Windows-based Evernote application. And I'll just throw in here that depending on what you're using, a Mac has slightly different looking interface, as do the other ones that are more app-based, like in an iPad or an Android. So they're all going to vary a little, but the features, some will vary a little, but they all have basic broad features. So in my version, they call this a webcam note, and basically it allowed me to use the webcam right in my laptop to take this picture. And you may wonder, well, why would I do that? And I'm actually going to show you a benefit of doing that in my examples. Just to throw another tidbit in here is you can do a webcam note, but you can also do a photo note. So whether you do that within Evernote or in the camera of your smartphone, for example. So I'll be sharing that as well. The basic point here is that you can take a note using a camera. Okay, so now one of the cool things is that I can actually add a note. So if a student hasn't gotten an email, let's say, and it has a particular attachment or information within the body of the email, I'm using Outlook, and so the screen that I'm pointing to right now on the back side is from Outlook in the PC. Because I have Evernote, it has a little menu here to add Evernote, add my email that I selected to Evernote. So I had selected an email, clicked on Add to Evernote, and it put that email right in my Evernote list. So that's great because then I can refer to it later, and I'll show how that works. I can refer to that note later that came from the email without having to go into email or into any other application. The other thing I can do is I can actually take, in this example, a note from Microsoft Word. I've gone to the window where I have my documents, and I've done a right click. And in the PC I can send to, and within that list of things you can send to, Evernote is listed if you have Evernote installed on your computer. So in this case, let's say I have a document that I want to make sure I have access to while I'm on the run, and I know some of you are very interested in using Evernote in multiple locations, and so this would be a way for you to make sure that the document you have on your home computer, let's say, is now actually a document available to you in Evernote, and it creates this Evernote part of your document right here. Okay. Again, we're just doing some quick overviews so you can get a sense of how this works. Evernote also has a new option in the PC version, and I've seen this in a few others, where they do what they call an ink note. And this is like having a tablet. This one actually was created on my computer itself, but I can use drawing tools to draw or to write out, or maybe I'm going to do some kind of like geometry or anything else that I want. But the point is that I can do this kind of note-taking. And obviously this kind of note-taking is a little more cumbersome on a laptop, a little more appropriate for using, for example, on a tablet where you might perhaps use a stylus and do handwriting and be able then to have that handwriting be right in your Evernote. And I'll show examples of that as well. Okay. So one of the features well, actually, before I move on, I want to see if we have any contributions or questions, because now we're going to start getting into how we're going to be able to start using this in unique different ways.
Bridget, there's a question in the chat.
Okay. So if I save something from my iPod, can I access it in my PC later? Yes. That's the quick answer. That's the cool part. And I'm going to show that. Yeah, it is very cool, Carrie. And I'm going to show that. But yes, and keep those questions coming, because that's the thing that as I continued to start using Evernote more, I realized how much flexibility it had. And if we are individuals with learning disabilities or working with individuals that we're supporting, one thing that we know is that flexibility is the name of the game, because how can we take a tool or a feature and make it work the way we work, uniquely work? So that's a very cool part. And a question about Web Clipper. Yes, I'm going to talk about Web Clipper, which for those of you who are not familiar is what I'm calling a research tool. Okay? Cool. Okay. So launching into that, the first thing I want you to know about Evernote is this really cool searchable tool. So on my screen here, I have a little red circle around where there's a search box. Okay, so I'm going to use the scenario that there's this English paper that's due. I type in the word English in the search box, and what you'll see here is in the notes that are drawn up is that English is highlighted in yellow wherever that word appears. That's pretty cool, because that means whatever note has the word English will show up as the subset of notes here in my note list, and I can click on any one of those notes and see how it pertains to English. So in this case, if I'm looking to see when my English paper is due, I can type in the word English in this example, and I have a better chance of finding that particular note, whether that note is in one notebook, all stashed in one notebook, or whether I've sorted them into individual notebooks. The student would be able to simply type in a search word and find it. Okay. What's really cool, if you check this out, my image that I took with my webcam, that's a photo of the word English, and it actually found that word when I did the word search. I'd like a thumbs up if you like that. I found that to be pretty cool, and it gave me some ideas about how students would be able to, in a situation where they just, I don't know, want to have a variety of ways of being able to track information. Maybe it's not even so much that it would be an efficient way, but more the way that they think. So that's pretty cool. Okay. I'll show more examples about searching and some of these others, but just to cover about Evernote for research, Web Clipper, and that's this little window that you'll see here on the side of my web browser. This back image is an article that I have in Wikipedia or something. And if I'm doing research, let's say I'm doing a paper on healthcare in India, and I find this web page that has information for my paper, then I can, right up here at the top, where my arrow is there's a tiny little Evernote icon built right into my web browser. If I have loaded the Evernote's web clipper into my computer, then the Evernote web clipper icon shows up in my web browser. And I believe this is available on pretty much most mainstream web browsers that I've used. So when I click on that little icon, this window shows up, the Evernote web clipper window, and it is going to take that web page and put it into the notebook of my choice. Again, whether I am sorting into other notebooks or just one main notebook. And when I save the article, then I have that article right in Evernote. I think I have a slide on that. Yes. So here's, again, just to show you where that icon is. When I go to collect my the web page that I want, one of the cool things it also does is it shows me other web pages in my Evernote that are similar. So if I've already collected information on healthcare in India and I've put it in Evernote, then you will see what else you have there. There's a question, where do we find it to install it? And the good news is that I'll have not only a resource page at the end, but we have a handout. And if you haven't received the handout, it should either be in your inbox or...
Actually, I'm going to give them the link right now.
Oh, okay, cool. There are, and I'm going to also have all kinds of these links available on my website as well, which you'll get access to. So I have a list of a lot of these things that I'm going to be showing you in the links available. Okay. So somebody's mentioning that they like how the web clipper will suggest which of the findings it thinks you would want to store. Which is the folders? Yes. Oh, okay. I think what I'm understanding, John, this is your that you have found that it will guess which notebook that it would go into. Is that what you're thinking? Oh, okay, that's cool. So yeah, so one of the inside tips here from John is that it's suggesting where web clipper should put it, which notebook it should put it in. And I'm not sure, but I think that has to do with where else you might have information like it. How do you suggest web clipping from an Android device? You know, I am not certain. I have not had my hands on Android in terms of Evernote, because I don't have access to one. But I can tell you that not all features cross over from the PC or Mac base into the apps. So, for example, you may not be able to have Clipper on your iPhone or Android. That may be something that you could do from your desktop computer. However, whatever you are gathering off the web, you will have in your Evernote as a portable note. Okay, so some feedback here. Clipper is available in the Dolphin browser. And there are some apps that are designed to work with Evernote. One browser will clip pages to Evernote. Oh, cool. Okay. I would love to know if anybody has information about specifically which apps would do that from with Evernote. That'd be great to add to the resource list. And I'm sorry if I missed anybody else's contribution. Let me just make sure. Okay. Okay. So yes, keep those comments and contributions coming in. That's great. So I have a screen here that's showing the Evernote platforms, and this is recent from their website. So for mobile devices, you can get Evernote for your iPad, your iPhone, and your iPod Touch, the Android, the BlackBerry, the Windows Phone, or the Web OS. For the computer, it's the Mac OS, the Windows, Windows 8 Touch, Safari, Chrome, and Firefox. I have a feeling that some of the other apps that some of you may be referring to that are not necessarily the Evernote apps, but there are a lot of developers out there who are trying to create apps that are compatible with Evernote. So, for example, one of you mentioned that there are a lot of apps in the trunk of Evernote, and that's true. On the Evernote page, website, there are a lot of different apps than the ones I've shown you so far. I'm talking very specifically right now about Evernote, that's the note-taking app, and also Web Clipper. And I'll be showing you a few other things, but yes, there are a number of other apps available through Evernote, but there are also apps that are being developed by other developers that are being compatible with, because it's becoming obvious that this is sort of the way to go in terms of note-taking. Okay, and somebody else mentioned there's a book, and it's very helpful in learning how to organize and using tags. I'm so glad, Danielle, that you mentioned tags. Actually, it's interesting. I realized that what tags are basically a way to be able to, in the note, be able to label it as, let's say you have a note and you would label it as English 101 or biology or anything else that you would be able to kind of search out according to common tags. I think that would be great if that's the way you organize and your mind works, to be able to tag different kinds of notes with labels. I find that many students that I've worked with are not necessarily going to get that detailed. They're more on the run, and so one of the things that they're very likely going to skip would be doing any extra details that would be required in order to find their stuff. I appreciate exactly, I know there are people where tags are going to be the exact thing they need, but when I use the scenario of a student who typically would be taking their stuff and using one binder or one day pack and stuffing everything into it, they're probably not going to be the kind of person who would stop and tag something as they go. But you should know that tags are very useful and a way to label your notes so that you can sort and organize in a more controlled way. Okay, cool. So now I want to talk about the flexibility, and this is where it gets into the ideas of how you can use Evernote in a variety of scenarios, and again, this is where I'm hoping you'll generate some ideas of your own, or contributions, that things that I'm not covering here. basically the idea is that if these represent tablets, smartphones, or that such, and whether it's a laptop or a desktop, you can basically have your Evernote stuff on whatever device that's available. Here's this cloud, and we've heard of clouds, and that's sort of like out there in the network land. Your stuff, all of that stuff that you've created, all of your notes, whether that was picture-based, whether it was notes that you typed out, whether it was something you collected off the internet, all of that stuff is in your cloud, and you can access it from any one of these types of devices. So knowing that, then here are a few scenarios that, oops, sorry, I realized my text got cut short there. Here's different scenarios that might trigger some ideas of your own. For example, if a student is in a classroom and the teacher has written all the assignment notes on the board, what's really a struggle for a lot of students is that copying from their own notebook, looking up on the board and copying back. A lot of students where it just takes forever and it's long and laborious and often details are missing. So what's really cool is imagine a scenario where the student has their own smartphone with a camera. They take the photo of the assignment off the board, and now that photo note is in their Evernote. It goes into their cloud, and it synchronizes. So they go back home, it's right there in Evernote, and they'd be able to read it while they're at home and sitting down to do the assignment. That's cool stuff. That right there is a way for students to be able to take advantage of the simplicity of using a camera to take notes. So another, within that scenario, here's the cloud where their Evernote stuff is. They go home, boot up their laptop, and let's say they took that image of all that information about the English paper that's due. Like now they have they're in Evernote, and they do a search for the paper due, and I'm using that as an example of a search term they might use. So here they are, paper due, and this image is actually coming right off of my screenshot from my computer. That photo they took, actually if they use the search term paper due, gets highlighted in the photo, and there they're able to find it easily amongst the notes. So to me that's really exciting. And it's of course not a unique idea of my own, but it really triggered some thoughts for me in terms of, wow, there's, you know, sharing these ideas out there, I think we'll definitely have an opportunity to generate even more cool ideas. And that's what I'm hoping to do, is to hear, either whether it's from you today or in the future, of more and more ideas that we can collect so that students are able to do even more cool things. Here's another scenario. So let's say you use your webcam to snap a photo. It syncs to your stuff. So here's your Evernote cloud of stuff, and later you can go and take and search for that. That's just, again, that same scenario I used before, where the student might just decide, you know, they have a Post-it note, they take a quick picture of it, they get home, and now they're like, what date was that paper due? They do a search for English, and then they find the note that they took the snapshot. So when I refer to a cloud, what I mean by that, I'm sorry I don't mean to use terms without defining them, basically these days, when in general people talk about cloud, and I'm not going to be too technically precise here, so but a cloud is basically the internet place where your stuff is stored. It's not only on your computer at home or only in your smartphone or whatever, but it's sort of that imagery that we provide, that it's out there somewhere in the universe, and then whatever device you pull it in and use it from is available to you. It's not unique to Evernote at all. It's just if you think of it more as a place where all of your data is stored out in the world somewhere, and then you use your devices to be able to interact with it. Yeah, I hope that helps. So there's a question about searching for handwritten notes. Yes, the answer is yes, and I have to see if I forget whether I have an example of that, but I hope I do. But the quick answer is yes, you can search for handwritten notes. The same way I I wrote by hand my Post-it note here in the picture. That's the same way that a handwritten note would search. How secure is the database? You know, that's as secure as anything else out in the world. I don't know Evernote's security or any of that. I would say if you have really highly sensitive data, whether it's Evernote or any other product that stores your information other places like Dropbox or any of that, then you may need to be really careful about what you do. It is password protected, but of course we know in this day and age that doesn't mean a whole lot. Again, you really have to make your own choice of no matter what app you use. If you have really security concerns, then this may not be the answer for you. Okay. Here's another scenario. So you've got your, let's say you take your tablet, whether it's your well, whatever tablet is supported by Evernote. In my case, I had an iPad. I have Evernote in it because I've downloaded the app into my iPad. I'm in my English class. I start a new note, an audio note, and click record. Now the professor's lecturing. I'm all done at the end. When I sync it, in other words, there's a little button that you synchronize. You just click it and it goes off to all of your various versions of Evernote. It goes into your cloud, as we're talking about. All your stuff is out there. Later, you can get your iPhone, let's say, and I'm just using the iPhone as an example of a device. And you could go off running and listening to your lecture notes while you're doing something else. So you can like use it and listen to it later. And you don't have to listen to it from the iPad. So I'm using that example, and some of you asked about multiple locations. That's an example where I used one device to record the note and another device to refer back to it. Whether I'm viewing it or listening to it, or whatever means I'm engaged with it, I can do that from a variety of places, from a variety of devices. And I believe, and actually haven't had the opportunity, well, I guess I have. I'm using an Apple product, an Apple iPad, and a Windows-based desktop, and I'm able to cross platforms in that way. So that's pretty cool. Here's another scenario. So I'm using Web Clipper. Let's say I'm at in the library or at home, somewhere where I'm working on that paper that's due, collecting in Web Clipper all the variety of resources and getting online and all of that. it syncs to my stuff. What's cool is that then no matter where I am, I just love the stock photo here. Everybody's on some gizmo or gadget of some kind, but that's today's world, reflected pretty accurately. But wherever I am, I'm able to then pull it in. So I could even show somebody an article I got from my smartphone, or I could go home and use my desktop at home to begin working on it. No matter where I am, my stuff is available. Here's another one where using, where I realized when I set this example up that let's say you're in a library where you're using some unique search engines that's only available to you as a student within the library. There may be something that only is available to you there. You wouldn't be able to access it at home. Even though that library computer may not have Clipper on it, you could copy and paste a lot of information right into your Evernote and then synchronize it and have all of that data available to you later. So even where Clipper may not be convenient or available, if as in my scenario the library didn't allow for that, there's still a way that you can go and collect information and still have your stuff. Somebody's, you want to see what some of these things on here. Somebody's asking me, do you need internet access everywhere you use it? And one of the answers was, no, you can take your notes and upload it when you have Wi-Fi. Not only can you do need the internet at least long enough to synchronize it between your devices and across.
Can it synchronize later?
You can always synchronize later. So it will, let's say in the scenario we're looking at right now where I've collected a lot of data at my library, it's just going to sit there in the computer that I'm using. Actually, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that in this scenario, there's a web-based Evernote login. So I can go to any computer. I could go to Aunt Judy's house. I don't have an Aunt Judy, but I don't know why that name came up. But I could go to somebody else's house where they don't even have Evernote and log into my Evernote online. And so then I could store information there. But I'd have to have the internet in order to do that. But let's say I'm at the library and collecting information. I don't have to synchronize it until I'm somewhere else. And even if I didn't synchronize it in my laptop, I could go home and synchronize it in a different device and it would all show
Bridget,
up.
Brian's also put in the comments that he's using the Live Scribe Sky Wi-Fi. Is that a pen that you write with and it records what you're writing?
Yeah, I'm not familiar. Brian, could you share a little more? So it is, according to...
So that's one of those pens that your notes will then also be connected to Evernote, and he has commented that it can search within those handwritten notes very well.
Oh, very cool. Wow, that's a great idea.
There's a question about, can you record on a laptop and download the recording to an Android phone?
Well, again, I haven't personally, and if anybody there has, I assume that it can. Anything that you record on one device and ends up being synchronized to Evernote in another device on any platform, as long as that app has that feature, then yes. I don't believe there are any apps that do not have the audio note feature, but please, anybody who knows differently, share with us. and as anybody might be sharing, I'm going to move forward in the interest of covering more. Oh, there's an app that Evernote just actually, it's not theirs, they just purchased it, called Penultimate. It's one of these handwriting apps where you can use a stylus or your finger and do note-taking in your own handwriting. What's cool is that it's compatible with Evernote, and so when I go to, I'm finished writing my notes in this writing tablet, I can upload it to Evernote, and so all of my notes then synchronize, and wherever I go, those handwritten notes are there and available. And as asked before and mentioned, you can search handwritten notes. So Evernote has this really robust handwriting recognition. And my handwriting is pretty bad. So I actually found there's times when it does not recognize my handwriting, and I'm not surprised because sometimes I don't, but it does a pretty good job. Okay. So here's another, so if you use your iPad, okay. So if you use your iPad, your iPhone, or Android, speech to text instead of typing. So in other words, let's say you're going to start your English paper. It happens that the Android, by the way, and this is in the resource list that is available to you, the Android Evernote has a built-in speech-to-text feature. This is not yet available, at least in any of the apps that I've been using, nor in the desktop versions that I've been using. But you can do speech-to-text. So what I did in my example is I actually used drag and dictate on the iPad. I dictated my writing. I then copied it and pasted it into Evernote in my iPad. It synchronized into my cloud and where my stuff is, and then later I went to my desktop and there was my text-to-speech, my narrated notes right there in Evernote. I thought that was pretty cool because so many students are taking advantage these days of an ever-increasing ability to use voice dictation, and the voice recognition is getting a lot more easy to use. And so as it becomes more and more available in Evernote, that's pretty exciting. But in the meantime, if it's not available to you, like I said, my workaround was using Dragon, and by the way, the version I'm using is free of Drag and Dictate. And also, if you guys don't know this already, everything I've done, I didn't pay for anything. Evernote is a freebie. So every Evernote, the one I have on my desktop, my iPad, my iPhone, and all the other ones are free. You can pay for other service, and there are some reasons I suppose you would do that, but there's not much I can't do with the free version. So
Bridget, there's a question about bringing the material out of Evernote into a word processor like Microsoft Word for formatting and combining notes.
I can't recall whether I combined any notes here in my slides, but of course you can copy and paste like old school style. You could do that. To be honest, I haven't played with that. I believe there are some flexibility in, depending again on what version you're using and what platform you're using. I can tell you, and it may show up in the last few slides here, I can tell you, for example, you can select multiple notes and then actually merge them so that all of the text or anything, images or anything on all of the notes you've selected all become one note. That's kind of cool. And then maybe you could actually take it back into Microsoft Word for more formatting. Just remember that there's a lot of formatting possibilities right in Evernote. I'm not suggesting that you create your entire English paper and then print it out from there and hand it in. That's certainly possible, and it may even be better than you've had it before, but I think it really depends on the platform, but it's totally possible. Somebody's saying if you have an iPhone, various levels that you can create a new note, tap the microphone on the on-screen keyboard to do speech-to-text. That's very cool. Yes. Okay. So using the built-in features within the Apple OS in those products. And that's the stuff I was playing with. As somebody else says, the Android has the built-in mic. Yes, and that's why they probably already put speech-to-text in the Android app. I was actually even playing with doing voice dictation using the Windows ease of access to, right in there. So using the being able to just speak in using those basic utilities. So a lot of stuff to play with. That's the cool thing. That's why I love the flexibility of all this. And okay, moving along, so we can end on time. I wanted to tell you, I had not had a chance to do this, but I thought it was a really cool idea, is that your smartphone or tablet, if you were to get an app, and then this little icon represents Scanner Pro, it does cost something like $6.99 or something, but there are free scanner apps. Turns your iPhone or your tablet, your smartphone into a scanner. So imagine the scenario that you go and borrow your best friend's notes, and you take your smartphone, use your scanner app, scan their notes, it synchronizes to your stuff, and later you go home and you diligently study those notes. I thought that was pretty cool. It's a very similar thing to taking the photo of the notes, but because I haven't used this, it may well have a better results in terms of being able to be recognized. Somebody's asking, does this apply? Oh, does it apply OCR? I think if I'm following your question, basically the handwriting recognition system within Evernote is basically doing that optical character recognition. So with handwritten notes, it's about how easy is it able to read your notes. And as I mentioned with mine, it's not that easy. But because it has that strong search feature, it seems to me that it has that built into it. If anybody has a better handle on how to answer that, I'd appreciate it. TurboScan. I assume that's another type of app. That's cool. I'll check that out. Will a copy of PowerPoint be shared? How do we do that, Lisa? Is there an option to? You can come back to an archive of this webinar.
We can share the PowerPoint as well.
And be able to.
I can put out a link.
Okay. Cool. And some of you are sharing some other great ideas. All right, let's see if I have anything else here. So basically, we talked about how to organize and stash and capture information, make it available from wherever you are. I didn't mention reminders, but just to know that in some of the apps, not all of them, there are reminders so that you can actually set like alarms and stuff like that. I think that especially for students who may need to have reminders on a regular basis. I know that we've used this, reminders, different kinds of reminders for students who have ADHD. Perhaps it's just a simple vibration or something that allows them to remember to stay on task. There's a lot of different scenarios for that, but anyway, that's available in some of these versions. There are only some of the resources on this slide, and since I did this slide, we actually added more to the handout. So you have the handout link here, and Lisa just put it back on the chat window. And last but not least, I want to make sure you know that what I'm working on are a variety is a Evernote for Students video series that you can sign up for on my website, studentsuccessresources.com, with the caveat of understanding that I'm working fast and furious. I do have one available, and I am, every time one leaves the editing room floor, that's my desktop, I'll be posting it. If you sign up for my Evernote series of that it'll be exclusively to those of you who sign up. If you'd like to see anything else I've put out there, other topics, you can go check out my YouTube, and that's available there for you as well. And maybe Lisa, if you don't mind putting those two links in the chat box, that'd be great. And I think we've covered it. And I see that there's so many other contributions here folks are making. I really appreciate all the expertise. My hope is that this generates more conversation, whether it's between you and a colleague, or whether you're able to actually shoot me an email, let me know what you think. I'd love to start collecting these and making sure, of course, any ideas that you come up with, definitely give you, credit on that. Just really want to create the resource for everyone. And I think that's it. Any other contributions before we end?
Somebody earlier had mentioned mastering Evernote in 2 hours, and it was an ebook, which I think I found on Amazon for about $3.47.
Okay. Good resource to know. What I hope to do is go back through all of these chat box windows. You guys were great in terms of being interactive and providing other resources, and I'll take those and make sure they get up on my website. If you go to student resources, studentsuccessresources.com, in the next day I will make certain that my links that I have available are also there for you. So thank you, everybody. That was great. Appreciate it.